I'm just thinking of my own wife, who she's a housewife, but there's no way she would consider herself in submission to me. She's an average English woman who speaks her mind, but I am the man of the house, and I'm the one who says no when she's asking for things, right? It becomes more and more difficult. But she has to respect the no, right? Because I'm the breadwinner.
Yeah. Which would be the definition of submission, but it is not oppression. But it is not oppression. It is willing submission. And what people ignore is that before it says woman submit to your husband, it's like, man, give your life for your wife. We are expected to give everything, defend our family with our lives. So it's not a one-sided deal. No. It's not one person submits. It's actually both submitting to each other in slightly different roles. But that system obviously is completely broken.
Oh yeah.
We don't have that anymore. There's now a slight trend to go back to traditions, the whole tradwife thing. I think some of that is very wholesome. I think some of them are absolute grifters.
I think it's become a fetish.
Exactly. And those are the grifters. So my wife, for example, she started watching she uses TikTok quite a lot and watches really good stuff on TikTok. Recently discovered Andrew Tate. Very funny. Because I don't watch him.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Yeah. But she said, he says a lot of really good stuff. But my wife, she asked me yesterday and she said, I started watching these things. There's something like with women that are traditional. I was like, tradwives. And she was like, yeah, that's the one. And I told her, well, I think there are quite a few grifters amongst them that just love the fashion of the 50s. Exactly. Yeah. And she said, no, the ones that she's listening to, they all have like 5-6 children and are actually stay-at-home moms. And they just explain what benefits it has, what difficulties it has. And it's good to see that there is some content out there. And I think that is through culture, through a change in mindset. It's the only way that man's rights can be addressed.
So, just as a quick aside on this, there's two kinds of tradwife content I've seen. One is by some 20-something, very buxom young lady who's got beautiful blonde hair. She's wearing a very tight dress. And she's the camera is not on her head, but it's on and so this is the fetish aspect. But then you've got, like you say, the other one where it's a normal looking woman who's got 4 kids or 5 kids or whatever, and she's just talking about her family life. Because I mean, my wife shares a lot of this stuff from Instagram on her Facebook timeline, so I see a lot of it. And a lot of it's kind of like memes for mums, and stuff like that, which is all quite wholesome. But there is an aspect of it that there's this one particular account that my wife is constantly going on about. Because this woman claims, on her Instagram that every day she gets up and makes fresh food for 7 kids or something, and then has a perfect house and then does all this baking. And my wife's like, I'm tired. I don't have the, how does she? And I'm like, darling, it's crafted for Instagram. It is like women, taking photos of themselves where they take 6 hours to set up the shot, get one shot, and then boom, there it goes. And it looks like it's just an off the cuff thing. It is crafted. And so it's, the same sort of trap with the beauty influencers. Actually, you fall into it with Instagram for women who are trying to be just normal women, basically.
Or is his name the Liver King? The guy who, but a bodybuilder who said he only ate a raw meat diet like our ancestors, and he was just the biggest guy ever, completely on steroids. And sham. So it's something quite similar. Don't trust these people. If it looks too perfect, then it's not real. Sorry.
No, that's exactly it. If it doesn't have a kind of sort of naff look about it, then it's not real.
Yeah, and if they don't say, look, this sometimes sucks.
Yeah.
Then it's not real, because sometimes it does.
If they don't have stress lines, crow's feet, then it's fake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, sorry.
No, it's fine. So I think, and so there needs to be a change, and I think we do see a change. I think we do see young people being fed up with some of the narrative that they're being fed. When you read the comments underneath articles, even in newspapers like The Guardians or so, people are sick of it. They are sick of feminism quite often, and they're like, what about man? What about the male experience? And so on. And I would say the vast majority of comments now are against the narrative, which is really refreshing. But that doesn't seem to affect policymakers or the media at all.
And I agree completely. But the problem I have is that Generation Z are in a position where they are raised as feminists, so they don't even realize that there are supposed to be discrete spheres of life for men and women specifically. And this is something you talked about in the podcast earlier, whereas men do things in a certain way, and it is different how women do things, and it is right and proper that they do things differently to women. And we have raised Generation Z in essentially a unisex society, which deprives them of like indistinguishable things or undiscoverable things about being a man, things you can't properly articulate and formulate in doctrine, but are there regardless. Like the strength of a handshake, or the sort of, jostling to get through a door, just really small cultural habits. Yeah, humor, habits and rituals that men do without knowing it, that women don't necessarily like, and sometimes they feel put upon when you're in a male space and a woman comes in, right? And things like that. And it goes the other way when a man goes into a female space. They've got their habits. And
I'll tell you a little story, and that's a bit of a segue. But I was in Egypt with my ex-girlfriend. By that time, she was already my ex-girlfriend, so it was slightly awkward. But we were on a bus tour from Hurghada to Luxor, quite a long bus drive. And because the tour starts very early, at around like 4 o'clock in the morning, most people sleep on the bus. I don't, because I want to take in the desert at night and all of that. So I was sitting there, and my ex-girlfriend, she instinctively used me as a pillow. Because she was tired, she was sleeping, so she used me as a pillow. And I looked around, and I woke her up, and I said, could you look around? What do you see? And it was all couples, and it was all the same. The guys were awake, actually, or something, or quite uncomfortable. And the girls were leaning on them, and she's like, oh, that's so romantic. And I was like, yeah, it's romantic for you. Or it's so nice. And I was like, yeah, it's nice for you because it's comfortable for you. Yeah. The guys, they have to hold them. That was just the little intro. But later on, when everybody was awake, there were a couple of guys sitting around that were roughly our age, maybe a bit younger, quite fit. And people started eating stuff on the bus, snacks, and I offered them some of my snacks. Then they offered some of their snacks and stuff like that. And I said to my wife later on, said, do you know what's happening? She said, well, you're being nice to them. And I was like, no, I'm creating a brotherhood in here. We're establishing trust. Because if something should happen to this bus,
then we're going to need each other.
We're going to need each other. These are the fit guys. And I didn't even intentionally do it, but while I was doing it, I was like, I'm making an alliance of fit guys that could deal with a terror attack or something like that, which could happen in Egypt. And these are things that we men do without realizing it, we create brotherhoods. We check if we can trust each other with certain types of humor, with punching the other person. Can he take it? Can he not take it? Women don't get that at all.
No.
They even perceive it as hostile.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No. You're totally right. Women do not understand how men interact with other men. They just don't understand it. It seems, like you say, it seems hostile, and it seems animalistic to them. They want to get away from that. And so, okay, fine, but that means there should be male-only spaces.
Yeah.
But of course, this is where the feminists will go, but this creates patriarchal domination because women are locked out of power. And it's like, maybe, but it's good for the men to have these things.
Okay, so on the one hand, feminists don't want segregation. On the other hand, and this is where I'm gonna start going in, what's happening against men in the UK at the moment. On the other hand, women very clearly want segregation.
Oh yes.
So
especially in vulnerable spaces like bathrooms and changing rooms.
Oh yeah.
And they should have it.
Oh, absolutely. But that's not what I'm want to talk about. Schools. Education. So there is a push now to push even more, and it's already the case, even more education, indoctrination into the classroom to re-educate boys. And with the online harms bill that is being pushed, with the prominence of Andrew Tate, this is being pushed.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to read a headline that I read yesterday. It says, "The Women and Equalities Committee are calling for a new government strategy to teach boys in schools about sexual harassment and gender-based violence." And that has already been going on, but it wasn't demanded in the curriculum. It was outside, so third-party organizations coming into the school. And what they would do is they would separate the boys and the girls, and they would tell the girls that they are empowered, they deserve everything, they can never be disrespected, there can never be any violence against them, and so on and so forth. And to the boys, they say, when you support your girl, you can never hit a woman, not even in self-defense, obviously. You have to ask for consent. The woman never has to ask for consent. So it's a completely one-sided and gender-segregated education that they want to do, with exclusive responsibility and blame on the part of the boys, and no responsibility at all on the part of the girls.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.